Kingdom Hearts is a real-time action JRPG from Square Enix. It was originally a crossover between Final Fantasy and Disney, but has expanded to include Pixar, The World Ends With You, and led Sora to showing up in other Square games. It initially released on the PS4 and Xbox One. In 2021, it, along with the rest of the series, were ported to the PC, and in the future we'll get a cloud version on the Switch as well as the rest of the series. If you don't know what cloud gaming is, it means you need an internet connection to play the game, which for me isn't a deal breaker, but anyway, moving on. Having seen people I watch talk about development in some games they like, I decided I should talk about one of my favorite games. And since I've been in a Kingdom Hearts high for no apparent reason, and since Kingdom Hearts 3 is a lot of people's most anticipated game, and is now an amazing Kingdom Hearts game, I want to bring us back to a scary time. 2013. After the release of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix as a part of the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 Final Remix, in a strange turn of events, Disney is the one who approached Square for another sequel, seeing, as Disney noticing, after 1.5 and 2.5, there would be a possibility of demand for Kingdom Hearts 3. At the time, Nomura was made head of the Final Fantasy Vs 13 game, and he was extremely passionate about the game as he was leading it. While yes, Sora is his baby, he responded, "We have various ideas, but we are not at the point where we can say that." Adding on to that, because of Final Fantasy 13, despite him not saying it, he added, "It's physically impossible at present to talk about the future of Kingdom Hearts." In the Birth by Sleep Ultimania, a strategy guide for Birth by Sleep, he announced many future Square titles, one of which would be Kingdom Hearts 3, but that it wouldn't release until after Final Fantasy Vs 13, which was originally slated for a 2012 release. Oh boy, if only we knew. Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance for the Nintendo 3DS was announced in 2011. Along with Neku from The World Ends With You and Dream Eaters, the game was announced to be a connection between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3, the same way Chain of Memories was a connection between 1 and 2. It was also a place where Nomura could put mechanics he wanted in Vs 13 but had to drop. In 2013, Kingdom Hearts 3 was given a self-admitted by Nomura too early announcement to get developers on board of a teaser trailer. Nobody knew what a bad idea announcing the game early would be. So if you've been paying attention at least as long as a goldfish, you would have heard me talking about a game called Final Fantasy Vs 13, and if you went the extra mile while watching, you would have realized that no such game exists. I'd like to shift focus a bit and talk about Final Fantasy Vs 13 because this had a major effect on Kingdom Hearts. Vs 13 was first unveiled in 2006 with a bare-bones development team and shown a trailer in 2009 of Noxus and Luna having a conversation, which would end up being unused in the final game, but was just used as proof that the game was still being worked on. After the first Final Fantasy 13 game was released, resources were shifted to Vs 13 in 2010. New screenshots were being revealed at Tokyo Game Show, designs were being finalized, voice acting had begun, but there was nothing near smooth sailing from there. In 2011, Square got their first look at the Xbox One and PS4, which threatened their PS3 exclusive Vs 13 demo they'd been making. At this point, the Vs 13 demo they'd been making was practically irrelevant. After seeing how powerful the new systems were, continuing the PS3 build was not an option for the team. Unfortunately, it took them till 2012 to make a decision to switch to the next-gen console, and went with the PS4 in the end. Then, the unthinkable happened. During development, Square made them shift whatever they were working on from Final Fantasy Vs 13 to Final Fantasy 15 in 2013, the same time Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced. The game that Nomura had been working on since 2006 had just been ripped away from him and been forced to make 15 to fit company demands. Nomura had to completely rework the game to be its own disconnected thing instead of a game related to the 13 universe like he wanted it to. This had a drastic effect on Kingdom Hearts 3 as, since he was now making Final Fantasy 15, he wanted this game to be as close to perfection as possible. While 15 fans, myself included, were happy with the team's dedication to 15, it led to Sora and the others being put on the shelf for almost the time being completely neglected to focus on Final Fantasy 15. It was all until 2014 when Nomura left 15 to work on his own neglected son's third mainline game. So that's why so many people were already impatient, especially if they didn't play the games prior to it like 358, Recoded, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance. Footage of Kingdom Hearts 3 was shown at E3 and D23, which is an event where Disney related projects were discussed. At this event, more footage was shown, and it was confirmed that nothing past Big Hero 6 would be in the game. This is when unfortunately the game got sidetracked again. Nomura couldn't keep himself tied to one game, so he went ahead and made another Kingdom Hearts collection. the 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue in 2017. This contained a remaster of Dream Drop Distance, a game he considered Kingdom Hearts 2.6, back cover movies which he considered 0, and a continuation of Aqua's story, which made it 0.2, giving us 2.8. Oh, Nomura. Why? But that wasn't all he started in 2017. Quickly jumping back to 2015 for a bit, he noticed Final Fantasy fans wanted a Final Fantasy VII remake, so we got together a small team to start what he called the Remake Project. Why do you have to work on 7 games at one time, dude? In 2017, promo art was made for the team and started hiring help for the project, so Nomura was once again split in 3 different directions. Between 2 games in the series he considered his child, and another a passion project he started because he wanted to. In 2018 he went back to Kingdom Hearts. Monsters Inc. was confirmed to give us all Nightmare Fuel for weeks to come, and development was split into 3 parts, with Part 1 being 90% complete, Part 2 being somewhere between 60 and 70, and Part 3 not being given a percentage, but Nomura had planned out what he wanted from Part 3. In 2018, demos were being given out and the game was delayed to 2019 due to the late start. On November 10th, 2008, the 100 Acre Woods got its trailer, and 10 days after that, development had been reportedly completed. Finally, the game came out on the 27th of January in Japan and on the 29th in the West. With a patch and secret movies being patched in on the 30th and 31st respectively. Damn, that was one hell of a troubled development. That was part of the reason why people were so disappointed, as they were waiting for so long, and it's a common misconception in the gaming industry that when a game's in development for that long, it's going to be near perfect. But base Kingdom Hearts 3 was a great game, it is not perfect. Some people, like me, still loved it, but base Kingdom Hearts 3 definitely had a lot of problems. Kingdom Hearts 3 had no critical mode. This is something that every game Kingdom Hearts 2 onward had. Dream Drop Distance even had it as an unlockable. Apart from a few boss fights, the game was remarkably easy. Adding on to that, there was only one post-game secret boss, and that was also remarkably easy that I and a lot of other people beat on their first attempt. As well as that, the game was bloated with unnecessary side content. Depending on your difficulty, the lucky emblems you could find around the world may or may not have been padding. Classic Kingdom minigames, in my opinion, were just boring 2 frames per second action, and the Moogle photo missions only gave you items you didn't need, and it didn't even take over your percentage completion. While Ultimate Weapon's cool and all, you only get it for the secret boss, which is super easy, so it's really not worth collecting. While Kingdom Hearts 3 sounds mediocre, luckily it didn't stay that way. 3 months after the game's release in April, Critical Mode was patched into the game, as well as Pro Codes and Easy Codes. Easy Codes, as the name implies, made the game easier, and Pro Codes made the game harder. As well as that, you could also play on Critical from the get-go. As well as that, 2 fan-favorite keyblades were patched into the game, Oblivion and Oathkeeper. Oblivion being a representation of Sora's relationship with Riku, and Oathkeeper being a representation of his relationship with Kairi. That isn't even where it ended. In December, the first ever batch of Kingdom Hearts DLC was released. This added a new layer to the ending, an area you couldn't explore in the base game, as well as that, 13 super hard bosses that will kick your ass. And if you're able to beat those 13, you get to fight Dylan Sprout Space Boosted, and whether you win or lose the fight, Nomura shows you what he was so bitter about not being able to do in Final Fantasy Vs 13. For Critical Mode and the Remind DLC, people consider Kingdom Hearts 3 a pretty good game, but I'm sure you can understand why, at release, it wasn't what a lot of fans were hoping for. Alright, thanks for listening to my video about why Kingdom Hearts 3 was underwhelming at release. I want to give a big thanks to everyone who came and watched, and I've just been on a Kingdom Hearts high as of lately. I'm sure you guys understand why. Thank you guys so much for watching and checking me out. You guys know what to do. Go check out my other content. There'll be stuff in the end cards description, the animated eye cards in the corner. And you guys know all this by now. Subscribe, please, please, please like, comment, and share this. It really helps out. You guys have no idea how much it helps, and I'm trying so hard desperately to reach 200 subs, so just any little help you can do would be super, super appreciated. Okay, bye for now, guys.